My daughter-in-law threw my mother's wedding dress onto the muddy lawn and called it trash. If she wants a war, I'll make sure she tastes defeat under my own roof. I had just stepped into the yard after the long, tiring flight back from my sister's funeral in Phoenix, Arizona. My heart was still a heavy, bruised thing, barely keeping rhythm after saying goodbye to the last person who called me little sister. The suburban landscape of Portland, Oregon, with its familiar damp chill and the scent of pine, usually felt like a comforting embrace. But that afternoon, the air felt thin, sharp, and hostile. That's when I saw it. The sight sliced through the last remnants of my grief like a shard of ice. There, draped over the neglected flower bed, soaked and already caked with the dark, heavy mud of early spring, was my mother's wedding dress. Not just any dress, the simple hand-stitched linen gown, the only keepsake left after 40 years of marriage, the one that meant more than any photograph. Beside it, the wooden chest, my brother hand-built in 1978, lay pried open, its contents. Scattered my father's old Navy uniform buttons, my own hand-stitched embroidery, and my mother's leather notebook, its pages already swollen and stained from the wet. My daughter-in-law, Sloane, stood in the doorway of the 2-story cedar home. Her arms crossed her silk dress, perfectly flat against her stomach. Her expression was utterly devoid of empathy or haste. She didn't offer a word of comfort about the funeral. She only offered the killing blow. My child needs a private room. That pile of trash just needs to be thrown out. That single cold sentence shattered the grief I hadn't finished grieving. The word trash hung in the air, a final definitive judgment on my entire life's memories. I looked from the mud-splattered dress to my son Andrew, who had just parked his car. He saw me, he saw the mess, and he only offered a tired, helpless shrug. He stepped past me, avoiding my gaze, and disappeared inside. When I bent down to carefully pick up the photo frame, the one with the chipped glass of my parents' wedding photo, Sloane walked right past me. Her heel, thin and sharp, crushed the glass beneath it with a sickening crunch. A shard cut my hand, and I didn't even feel it. My throat tightened. My heart clenched with the feeling of being humiliated, of being rendered invisible in the home I had built and paid for over the last 3 decades. The injustice of it all was a physical weight settling in my chest, fueling an immediate cold resolve. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I was too old, too tired for dramatics, and too much of an accountant to waste energy on useless emotion. Instead, I quietly took out my phone. I photographed every scattered item, every mud streak, every footprint on the wooden porch, and every corner of the yard. I sent the visual evidence without a single word of explanation to the one person I had always been cautious about, Amit Patel, my insurance attorney from 10 years ago. It was an almost instinctive professional reaction document: preserve and prepare. That night, I didn't cry. I only whispered into the silence of the darkened house, where the smell of rain-soaked earth and betrayal lingered. If she wants a war, I'll make sure she tastes defeat under my own roof. The upstairs bedroom will be the baby's room, Sloane said evenly, her voice thin as ice, pushing me towards the back of the house. You have to move into the back storage room. I walked down the little slope to the back of the property. The wooden door creaked open, and the smell of damp mold and dust hit me. Inside were a dirty folding mattress, a bare ceiling socket, and a small cobweb-draped window. No table, no chair, no blanket. It was a space designed for storage, not for a person, much less a mother, who had just lost her sister and was recovering from a lifetime of careful labor. I sat on that mattress and took a deep, shaky breath. Humiliation twisted in my chest, but I was done with tears. Andrew came home late. The door to my room now, the storage room, opened a crack, and hallway light spilled in, illuminating the dirt and the despair. "Mom," he said tiredly, his voice lacking any conviction. "Don't mind it, Sloane is stressed. She needs her own space. You know, with the baby coming." I looked at my son, the man I had loved and trusted most in the world. I saw the weakness in his eyes, the surrender of his own backbone. "And what about you?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper, hoping he would see what I saw. He avoided my gaze, the shadows hiding his face. "You know my wife comes first." The door shut with a soft squeal of the hinge. The room went dark again, sealing me in with the silence. It was then I knew the painful truth: my son had become an active accomplice in my humiliation. I opened my phone and checked the secondary bank account I'd once opened in both our names for emergencies. The transactions over the last 2 months were a string of brightly colored expenses, interior design services, expensive paint, a weekend trip to Napa Valley, luxury spa packages. Each line was like a knife cut. Nearly $6,000 in 2 months. I knew that was just the tip of the iceberg. I remembered Sloan hinting about refreshing the space by selling a few of my old pieces. Now I understood she'd sold my memories to buy meaningless indulgence, using the money I had set aside for genuine need. She had betrayed not just my heart, but the most fundamental concept of financial trust. Late that night, I finally tapped Amit Patel's number. I needed to see him not as an accountant, but as a person who needed the law to stand up for her. I answered his question about the cause of the meeting briefly. Family. And I need to protect what's left. The resolve hardened, settling into the core of my bones. Before bed, I heard the engine of a luxury car pull into the driveway. I peeked through the curtain. Sloan was driving an ivory Lexus, the one she claimed she was borrowing from a friend. But the interior light was bright enough for me to see a brand new designer handbag resting on the passenger seat, an unnecessary extravagance. It was just another layer of deceit added to the foundation of my life's undoing. I knew from this moment on everything would change. I would not allow myself to be treated as a burden in the place I called home. I was ready to use my strongest weapons, my meticulous mind, my knowledge of finance, and the cold, unyielding hand of the law. I had spent a lifetime being quiet. Now, I would let the evidence speak. I closed my phone and sat on the dusty folding mattress. My heart still ached for my sister, and for the son I thought I knew. But beneath the sadness, a slow, steady flame was rising. Clarity in the dark. If she wants a war, I'll make sure she tastes defeat under my own roof, I whispered. Fine, Sloan. Keep thinking I don't know a thing. I will use the facts you gave me. I looked at the thin crack in the door, allowing a faint sliver of light from the hallway to spill in. This was my sanctuary now, this cold, damp storage room. But I wouldn't stay here as a freeloader or a victim. I would stay here as the meticulous architect of my own defense, an accountant, ready to audit my life. The next morning, when the first sunlight cut through the dusty little window of the storage room, I woke heavy-hearted but not weak. I knew exactly what I was about to do. I sat on the edge of the mattress and pulled out a notebook, the one I had carried everywhere since working at the city's architecture office. I wrote the first line with clear blue ink. March 14th, begin collecting evidence. Then I told myself quietly but firmly, if I have to stay in a storage room, I'll stay there as a plaintiff, not as a freeloader. I closed the notebook and looked up at the dim ceiling. For the first time in years, I didn't feel weak. I felt like a woman who knew exactly what she was about to do. I opened my contacts and tapped Amit Patel. I need to protect what's left. If you're still listening, tell me where you're watching from. Every comment you leave is another mark in this journey. I used to think my habit of recording every receipt was pointless. But now, every single line became a sword in my hand. The next morning, Portland wore a thin veil of fog. The streets were slick and shimmering from the night rain. I woke before dawn in the dim storage room. I brewed a black coffee, no sugar, no cream, and sat at the small wobbly table. The warm light from my desk lamp was just enough to show every crease on my hands, the hands of a woman who had spent a lifetime making sure numbers balanced. In front of me was the manila folder, now thick with the photos I'd taken. I was no longer grieving. I was auditing. I opened my expense ledger, the one I'd carried everywhere since I started working as an accountant at the city's architecture office. Line after line, my handwriting was tidy and careful. Every roof repair, every pipe replacement, every furnace maintenance, I had recorded the date, the cost, and the contractor. I always thought that habit was just a pointless obsession with detail, a trait Andrew had always teased me for. But now, it was a lifeline. I grabbed my laptop, opened my bank account statement, and began matching each item to the handwritten ledger. The cold, hard numbers laid bare the scale of the betrayal. Over 8 months, the total pulled from the secondary account I'd let Andrew use for emergencies, the money that was meant for my future, my health, my safety, added up to $86,400, $86,400. My heart squeezed with each line. Interior design, $12, $800. Spa maternity retreat deposit, $2, $500. Napa Valley weekend, $7, $900. It wasn't family expense, it was indulgence on my dime. The sheer volume was a gut punch, but the proof was undeniable. I turned off the screen, closed the ledger, and fought the tremor in my hands. I had to find more. Upstairs, the living room where my mother's walnut cabinet once stood, the one she scrimped for all year to buy at the antique market in 1962, was now bare. In its place stood a shiny, sleek, soulless piece of modern furniture. I froze, hand touching the empty spot on the floor where the old cabinet used to be. A chill ran up my spine. I stepped onto the porch where my father's rocking chair had always Saturday. I had repainted it just last year, carefully leaving the scratch on the left arm as a keepsake, a reminder of the day my father taught me how to whittle wood. Now, only a lighter square of tile remained a mark of absence. I went back in, opened my phone, and pulled up Marketplace, the app the kids use to sell second-hand things. I typed the keywords walnut rocking chair, vintage Portland. Dozens of results appeared. I scrolled and my heart stopped for a moment. A listing had expired 3 days ago, but the thumbnail was still clear. My father's chair, the scratch on the left arm exactly as I remembered. Below it, sold. 650元. An object is just a thing, but to me, it was memory. It was proof that I had existed, that my parents' legacy was real. And Sloan had sold everything, piece by piece, turning my history into her spending money. I didn't scream, and I didn't call Andrew. I opened my laptop and created a new folder, Case Sloan. I dropped in every piece of evidence. Photos of the belongings thrown into the yard bank statements, the missing cabinet, the chair listing, and the saved ad images. Every file was meticulously named: 01, entryway, 2, rocking chair, add 3, bank statement, PDF. I did it with the quiet intensity of someone who had already lived through too much loss, and now knew that anger weakens you, but evidence is what makes others afraid. From the drawer, I took the little pocket recorder I used to use in meetings. I charged it, tested the mic, and slipped it into the coat hanging behind the storage room door. While I was plugging it in, I heard footsteps in the hall. Sloan was on the phone, her voice low and detached. "Don't worry, baby. Everything's lined up. I told him the house needs to be redone to welcome a baby. That old woman doesn't know anything about paperwork." A pause, then, a quiet, chilling laugh. "Yeah, if this plan works, we get the whole house. Trust me." I closed my eyes, clenched my fists, and forced myself not to fling the door open. I needed to be silent. I needed her to believe I was weak, that I had given up. I checked the clock. My appointment with attorney Amit Patel was at 9 a.m. in his small downtown Portland office. I picked up the folder, pulled on my long raincoat, and drove my old Toyota Camry off the quiet street. With each time the tires rolled through a puddle, I felt a little lighter, as if every turn of the wheel was carrying me out of the dark. Mr. Patel's office was in a red brick building near the Willamette River. Inside, it smelled like coffee and old paper. He came out and shook my hand. "Miss Vivian, it's been a while. I heard your voice on the phone. It didn't sound good." "It wasn't good, Amit," I said. I opened the folder and laid out each set of documents in order. "These are 8 months of statements. These are the scene photos, and this is the original house deed." He skimmed the documents, nodding slowly. "You did exactly right, documenting and preserving evidence. Most clients come when it's too late." He stopped at the deed copy. "This house is still in the name of Vivian Cole, right?" I nodded. "Correct." Andrew never completed a transfer because I'd said I would leave it to him after I passed. Mr. Patel set down his pen, his voice turning firm. "Then here's the good news. Legally, you remain the sole owner. No one can sell, lease, or alter the property without your written consent. Andrew and his wife are occupants by permission tenants at will under Oregon law. I took in each word like water after a long thirst. This house, my life's work, was still mine. I looked at the thick manila folder, the quiet power resting inside it. Now to the money, Mr. Patel said. What's your estimated total loss? $86,400, withdrawn, not including heirlooms, the walnut cabinet, the rocking chair, the embroidery. Estimated another $12,000. We'll appraise the full loss and prepare a detailed inventory. Everything sold, withdrawn, or destroyed goes into the restitution claim, he explained, opening his computer. First, protect your finances. I want you to change all bank passwords, disable Andrew's secondary card today, and turn on transaction alerts. All done today, I confirmed, writing each step down. Do you want to file suit immediately? I thought, not yet. I want to give them one last chance to understand consequences. Then we start with a formal notice, he said. I'll propose a lawful lease for Andrew and Sloan at $1,650 per month. Set a plan to repay the $86,400 over 48 months with a minimal 2% interest to formalize the debt. And if they refuse to sign, he looked at me, then we file a civil action and issue a lawful eviction notice. With your evidence, this is straightforward. I nodded slowly. One more thing. The back portion of the house where I'm living now must remain as is. No one can enter, lock, or change the lock without my consent. He smiled. You're as sharp as you were in your accounting days. I'll add it. I understand, Vivian, but sometimes to teach respect, you have to let them face consequences. I looked at the thick envelope on Patel and Associates' letterhead. I didn't want to destroy my son. I just wanted him to understand that respect isn't granted, it's kept by action. The letter will go out within 48 hours. I looked at the letterhead. I didn't want to destroy my son. I just wanted him to understand that respect isn't granted, it's kept by action. If you're still listening, tell me where you're watching from. Every comment you leave is another mark in this journey. The people who treated me like trash suddenly wanted to talk calmly. I knew that kind of reconciliation smelled scripted, but I had already put a mini camera in the vase on the shelf. Andrew texted me that noon. Mom, let's have dinner as a family tonight. Sloan wants everyone to talk calmly and find a solution. A solution. The very people who had treated my life's memories like trash and pushed me into a cold storage room suddenly wanted calm. I smiled, a thin, humorless curve of the lips. I knew that kind of reconciliation usually smelled scripted, and I knew exactly what role I'd play tonight. All day I barely ate. I organized Mr. Patel's files, making sure the thick sealed envelope was neatly tucked into my handbag. By late afternoon I showered, combed my hair, and put on the blue knit dress, the one my sister once said made me look both classy and steady. I looked in the mirror. The sadness of the past few weeks was gone. What remained was something quiet, cool, and very clear. I was no longer Vivian Cole, the grieving mother. I was the meticulous accountant ready for the final audit. Around 6:30 p.m., the smell of food filled the house. Roast meat, rich sauce, and buttered bread. The dinner was more elaborate than usual, designed to create a false atmosphere of peace and control. I went upstairs, listening to the forced brittle chatter coming from the dining room as I walked. Sloan stood in the kitchen, busy, the corners of her mouth lifted in a smile, too practiced to be natural. Her parents, Gregory and Elise Mercer, were already seated pouring wine. He was the type who spoke with a built-in sneer, and she always wore a half smile, like she was taste testing other people's patience. They represented the external validation that Sloan craved. Vivian, you finally came up. Sloan said, her voice soft but sharp, laced with an artificial sweetness. We just want a peaceful dinner, no tension. I sat across from them and glanced at the neatly folded white napkin in front of me. I hope so too, I answered slowly. It's been a long time since I've seen anything like peace in this house. Dinner started. Knives and forks clicked against plates in steady little chimes. The tension was so thick, it seemed to absorb the sound of the low jazz playing in the background. No one spoke for the first few minutes, just the sound of wine being poured, and Sloane's fake laugh when Elise leaned forward, aiming her words at me like darts. "It's wonderful," Elise said, looking straight into my eyes, as she mentioned an acquaintance opening a senior living facility in Eugene. "At your age, having a quiet place with attentive care is what anyone would want." Gregory nodded and added, "Right at this age, living alone can be inconvenient for both generations. A senior facility makes it easier on everyone." I set my fork down and looked up. "You're talking about me, aren't you?" Elise took a sip of wine, her composure slipping slightly. "Oh, we're just suggesting it because Sloane says you've been tired. Andrew worries about you too." I gave a small smile that made the entire table pause for a beat. "I'm not tired. I'm just busy counting how many things that used to be mine have disappeared." I looked at Sloane, like my mother's walnut cabinet or my father's rocking chair. She sighed theatrically, attempting to duck the topic. "Mom, we're just trying to brighten the house. Those old things don't fit the style anymore." I kept quiet, cut another small piece of meat, and chewed slowly. It felt like even the meat knew what I was waiting for. Gregory stepped in, aiming for neutral ground. "Sloane and Andrew are thoughtful, but maybe they need more control over managing the family finances. Young people have their own way, Miss Vivian." That was my moment. I set down my utensils, dabbed my hands with the napkin, and opened my bag. Mr. Patel's envelope slid out thick and official, and I set it squarely in the middle of the table. "In that case," I said, my voice light as a breeze, "let's make the finances clear." All eyes turned to me. I opened the envelope and pulled out the letter on Patel and Associates letterhead. "This is a legal notice. From now on, Andrew and Sloane will sign a formal lease at $1,650, $1,650 per month. They will also repay the $86,400, $86,400 withdrawn from my account over the past 8 months, over 48 months, with 2% interest." Gregory's wine tipped over the rim and dripped onto the white tablecloth. Elise held her breath. Andrew sat frozen, staring at the seal. "You don't have to do this," Sloane said, tartly trying to maintain control. "I didn't expect you to turn everything into spreadsheets like some professional manipulator." I lifted my head and met her eyes until she had to swallow, unable to hold my steady gaze. "I used to be an accountant, yes, and I'm also the person who still holds title to this house." Then I took out my phone, opened the Case Sloane folder, and turned the screen so the whole table could see the digital file. My father's rocking chair was right there, the scratch on the armrest, and the words, "Sold. $650 underneath." "Elise," I said, "if it looks familiar, it should. Your daughter sold it along with a lot more." The air went thick as syrup. Andrew's hands shook as he set down his glass. "Mom, what? What are you saying?" "I'm saying the truth," I said, "and I've documented everything. Statements, receipts, listings. I don't need to shout. I just need evidence." Gregory flushed and stood. "You're threatening my daughter in our house." I tilted my head slightly, my voice calm, in a way that surprised even me. "Wrong. This is still my house, and this envelope is the last chance for my son and his wife to stay here with basic decency." Sloane let out a short, hard laugh. "Pathetic. You think you can scare me with paperwork? I'm pregnant, and you're throwing a pregnant woman out of a house. Do you feel inhuman?" She was using the emotional shield, the final act of manipulation. I leaned back, my eyes never leaving her. "Really?" I asked, soft as air. "Then when will you show me the prenatal results?" The question hit the table like a brick. Silence. Andrew turned to Sloane, his eyes spinning. "You. I thought you said." Sloane shot to her feet and slammed her spoon down. "I don't have to prove anything. She just wants to divide us." I didn't say more. I just looked at Andrew, my eyes sad but steady. "Son, I've lost too much by staying quiet. From now on, I won't be quiet." The room went still. Gregory grabbed his coat and tugged Elise away from the table. Sloane stood there, pale, her lips trembling. Andrew couldn't form words. I stood, slid the envelope back into my bag, and said softly, I'll leave the letter on the kitchen counter. You have 48 hours to read and sign. Then I left the dining room. Dishes clattered behind me, the sound of a dinner, and maybe a marriage breaking apart. I went back to the storage room, the only place I felt calm. Andrew came later, gaunt, bloodshot, begging me not to throw him out. I don't want to throw anyone out, I answered slowly. That's why I offered the lease. If I wanted revenge, I would have changed the locks a long time ago. He dropped his head, fingers laced tight. Sloan. She said if we don't have this house, she'll leave me. I don't want a divorce, Mom. I'm just scared of losing everything. Tell me, Andrew, who sold your father's chair? Who decided to withdraw the money? Sloan, he whispered. She said your old stuff made the house look poor. Our friends would laugh. I closed my eyes. And you? I knew it was wrong, but I didn't dare argue. She threatened to tell people you control the money, that I don't have a voice. I didn't want anyone to think I'm unfilial. Andrew, I said low. I used to think loving you meant shielding you. Maybe I was wrong. I let you get used to someone else cleaning up your mess. Mom, I don't want to lose you. If you truly don't want to lose me, then tomorrow you sign the contract. I want nothing but respect. And if you let anyone take even one more cent from my accounts, you push yourself out of my life. He nodded, tears rolling onto his clenched hands. I understand. I'll do it. No, I corrected. You have to do it. We sat in silence for a few minutes. The living room clock ticked steadily. When Andrew stood, his shadow stretched long and shaky across the floor. He didn't know that I had recorded every word of his confession. I watched him walk up the stairs, my heart sinking. My door closed, leaving a heavy quiet behind. I sat there staring into the dark and realized sometimes a mother's love is a double-edged knife. It can save, or it can make someone so soft they forget they can stand up on their own. I opened my notes app and typed, "Call on March 15th, 8:27 a.m. Got the latter part recorded. You have 48 hours to sign. I knew that kind of peace was only the quiet before another storm. Chương 3 đã được duyệt. Tôi sẽ tiếp tục viết chương G4 The Golden Voice of Conscience. Tập trung vào biến cố sức khỏe của nhân vật chính, sự hỗ trợ từ các con khác và cú twist. Giải thoát quyết định, Alice Mercer tiết lộ sự thật, đảm bảo tính liền mạch và đạt mục tiêu khoảng 900 từ. Chapter 4. The Golden Voice of Conscience Hook. I don't remember exactly when I passed out. I just know the rain was still falling off the eaves when my chest cinched tight like a steel cable. The next hour would decide if I lived or if Sloan won the house. The heavy quiet that settled after Andrew closed the storage room door wasn't peace. It was the suffocating calm before another storm. I sat there, heart still racing from the confrontation, staring into the dark. Andrew had made a promise, but a part of me, the meticulous accountant, knew that a signature made under duress and fear didn't hold the weight of genuine change. I pulled up the blanket, but the cold of the room was nothing compared to the chill of betrayal that had settled deep in my bones. I was about to lie down when soft steps crossed the upstairs floor. A door clicked shut. Then Sloane's voice, small but chillingly clear, came through the paper-thin wall, captured perfectly by the little recorder I had left blinking on the shelf. I told you, just a few more months. Just a few more. Once that old woman signs all the papers, I'll say, I had a miscarriage. No one can blame me then. I went rigid. My heartbeat pounded in my ears like a drum. Miscarriage, a lie preloaded and planned in detail. The pregnancy itself was likely just a show. My son had been fooled this far. But another part of me, the core that refused to break, turned to steel. Go on, Sloan. Keep lying. Keep scheming. This old mother isn't as stupid as you think. Outside the window, rain started ticking steadily. I listened to each drop, like counting down the minutes until dawn, the dawn when justice would start to speak. I don't remember exactly when I passed out. I just know the rain was still falling off the eaves when I collapsed right at the storage room door. My chest cinched tight like a steel cable. My breaths grew short, and the new set of keys slipped from my hand. Something sounded far away, maybe Mrs. Whitaker, my neighbor, shouting my name. Then, everything dropped into an icy void. When I opened my eyes, The white ceiling of Providence Hospital hung above me. The familiar smell of disinfectant made me shiver. A white coat leaned in. A gentle male voice said, "Mrs. Cole, you're awake. You had a stress-induced pre-heart attack event. Thankfully, your neighbor called an ambulance in time." Mrs. Whitaker, her eyes red, squeezed my hand. "Vivian, you scared me half to death." I knocked, and no one answered. Good thing I heard something fall inside. Less than 6 hours later, news of my hospitalization reached my 2 kids far away. The door flew open, and I heard the familiar footsteps. Hannah, my daughter, reached me first, her face thinner than the last time I saw her. Behind her was Lucas, my youngest, the one who calls me weekly but hadn't been home in 2 years. Mom Hannah's voice broke as she hugged me. Lucas gripped my hand and leaned close. The doctor said it was down to minutes. Do you know how scared I was? I laid my shaking hand over theirs. The pain in my chest lingered, but inside it felt like someone had just lifted a boulder. The doctor returned serious but compassionate. You need complete rest, and to avoid stress, for at least 90 days. Mom, come stay with me for a month, Hannah urged. My place in Manhattan has a spare room, a housekeeper, and a private doctor. You need quiet. I smiled weakly. Hannah, thank you. But I need to stand firm in my own home. If I leave now, they'll think I gave up and I haven't. Lucas talked to Andrew. He's fragile. They stayed the night. I heard Hannah whispering with a nurse in the hallway, and Lucas stretched out on the window bench. The 3 kids who once fought over the back seat on road trips were now grown together again only because their mother had fallen. All that day, Andrew never showed. No call, no text. I wasn't surprised. Sloan likely had him wrapped tight in sweet lies. 3 days later, I was discharged. On the drive home, Lucas took the wheel. I watched the street slide by. When we turned onto my street, my heart sped up. The front yard was strangely bare. The bench where I used to read the paper was gone. The small wooden sign, etched Cole Home, since 1993, was gone. The storage room lock had been changed. Mom, where is everything? Hannah's mouth fell open. The doctor's words rang in my head, cut sources of stress for 90 days. But how does any mother stay calm when the home she sweated to build is being stripped layer by layer? Lucas moved ahead. Mom, let me go in first. I nodded, feeling everything condense into one quiet question. People can take all the things. Can they take the will of a mother who has almost lost it all? 2 days later, on a damp, cold morning, my phone rang. A familiar woman's voice, hesitant, trembling, said, "Miss Vivian, it's Elise Mercer, Sloane's mother. We need to talk once, just us." I froze. Elise, the woman who met my eyes with arrogance at that family dinner, now sounded urgent. I agreed, partly because my gut said this mattered. The cafe, Maple and Steam, sat on a small street, lined with blazing golden maples. Elise was already there. No makeup, no jewelry looking worn. In front of her lay a thick light brown envelope. She slid it to me, eyes turned away. "I don't know where to start," she said softly. "But some things, if I don't say them, I won't sleep." I opened the envelope. Inside were medical records, credit card statements, screenshots of texts. The pages bore the logo of a fertility clinic in California. Failed IVF cycle. November 2019. Patient cannot conceive naturally. I looked up. Elise clutched her cup so hard, her nails dug into her palm. "She can't have children," she said quietly. "We've known for 4 years. Sloane hid it from everyone, including Andrew." She just smiled and said, "Because if I tell the truth, no one stays." I went still. Each word hit my chest like a blow. Elise handed over more screenshots. "I'll say I'm 3 months pregnant. Easy. Just buy a fake positive test online. After a few months, I'll miscarry. Who's going to verify?" "You act shocked. People will pity us. Then we'll have the house." My hands trembled. "Why tell me?" I asked, my voice low but firm. "Because I can't watch her destroy other people's lives. I've stood by too long. I owe you and I owe my daughter the truth." Right then, Hannah walked in. I slid the envelope to my daughter. Hannah took out her phone and photographed every page, every screenshot. "Mrs. Elise, thank you. We'll send this to Mr. Patel right away." Inside me, feelings tangled anger, pity, and a strange hollow. This wasn't victory. It was a release from an illusion. All the times I'd ask myself, am I being too harsh? Is Sloane really pregnant? They evaporated like fog in sunlight. I pulled out my phone and typed quickly to Mr. Patel. "Now have medical and financial evidence of Sloane's fraud. Sending supplementary file." The message sent. I set the phone down, closed my eyes, and leaned back. The truth had opened its own envelope. Andrew had lost himself. I set the phone down, closed my eyes, and leaned back. I didn't know how tonight's talk would end, only that it would change everything. Happiness built on lies is a sandcastle, Sloane. The first wave just hit, but the final one was about to crash over her in the courtroom. The evening Andrew came to see me, the fog from the river had made the streetlights look melted into the air. I sat in the living room with Hannah and Lucas. On the oak table, the file Elise gave me medical records, fraudulent texts, lay like an unexploded bomb. Around 8 p.m., Andrew knocked slow and heavy. He looked gaunt suit, rumpled deep shadows under his eyes. "Mom," his voice was hoarse like a man who'd lost his bearings. I said nothing, just opened the door wider. I slid the envelope toward him. "Read," I said low and clear. He hesitated, opened it, and pulled out the pages. I watched his face. His hands trembled, his lips tightened. A minute later, he whispered almost to himself, "No way." "No," Sloane said. "It can't." He flipped to the next page. Screenshots, clinic notes, infertility records. His eyes went glassy, and I heard his breath quicken. "I didn't want it to come to this," I said slowly. "But you need the truth, no matter how deep it cuts." "Mom, are you sure? Maybe they made a mistake." He was still clinging to the lie. I didn't answer. I just took out my phone and dialed a number. "Where is she?" Hannah asked softly. "On her way," I said. I told her to say it to your face. Sloane pulled up in less than 10 minutes. She came in long coat, pale face, and froze when she saw Hannah and Lucas. "What is this?" "A family tribunal." I pointed to the chair. "Sit, Sloane. You have a lot to explain." She looked down, read the first lines of the file, then looked up, her lips twitching. "Where did you get this?" "From your mother," I said. She couldn't keep the secret anymore. Andrew stared at his wife. "Is it true?" he asked, voice rough. Sloane turned away. "It's nobody's business. I just didn't want to lose you, Andrew. If you knew I couldn't have a baby, you'd leave." "I was trying to save our marriage." Hannah slapped the table. "Save it by faking a pregnancy and planning a miscarriage." Sloane snapped back. "You don't get it. He promised the house would be his when his mother died. I just wanted to secure our future. This is all because of him." Andrew reeled as if struck. He stood, hands to his head, stumbling back. "Because of me. Because of me. You lied to my family, sold my mother's things, took money from her account." Sloane screamed. "You promised, Andrew. You said Mom won't live forever. It'll all be ours." I just made that promise come true sooner." The sound shattered like glass. My voice came out startlingly calm. "Happiness, built on lies, is a sandcastle, Sloane. The first wave just hit." She gave a harsh laugh and stood. "You win, Vivian. You've always wanted to see me fall. Congratulations." She slammed the door so hard the painting on the wall tilted. Andrew collapsed to the floor, face in his hands. The sob that tore out wasn't a grown man's. It was a lost child's. I sat beside him and held him just like all those times he skinned his knees. "Son," I said softly, "sometimes losing the wrong person is a blessing. Better than keeping someone who makes you lose yourself." After nearly half an hour, Andrew looked up, eyes drenched but clearer than I'd seen in years. "Mom, I'm going to divorce her, and I'm moving out. I can't stay in this house." I squeezed his hand. "Good. Do it right. I'll ask Patel." 2 days later, Mr. Patel came to the house with new files. "I'll file for compensation for the family heirlooms that were sold," and also seek damages for emotional distress caused by fraud, misappropriation, and fabricating a pregnancy. Andrew sat beside him, nodding. I've also canceled the authorized user card and locked every linked account. She won't touch another dollar. Mr. Patel looked up at me. Miss Vivian, few people your age keep their composure like this. This truth could collapse a lot of people. I gave a thin smile. Collapse is their problem, not mine. I'm just choosing to stand. Less than a month later, Sloan struck back. Patel called, his voice calm. Miss Vivian Sloan has filed a countersuit. She's accusing Andrew of emotional abuse and demanding $120,000, $120, 0000. I know Sloan's kind, I said, taking a long breath. When truth slips from their hands, they invent a new story to keep going. On the court day, the courtroom was small, but the air was heavy. Sloan sat across from us, pale but still trying to look composed. Andrew sat at the defendant's bench. I sat behind him between Hannah and Lucas. Sloan began her testimony, mixing anger with fragility. Andrew Cole, drove me into a mental crisis for months. He controlled the finances, humiliated me, and together with his mother pressured me to leave the house. Patel stood, his voice low, each word landing like a tap of a gavel. Your Honor, I'd like to present rebuttal evidence. These are account statements showing $86,400 withdrawn without authorization. These are antique sale listings. And this is an audio recording in which Miss Sloan Mercer admits faking a pregnancy and planning a miscarriage to gain her husband's trust and access the Cole family's assets. The room fell utterly silent. Sloan dropped her gaze, lips pressed tight. I was set up. My mother hates me. It's all fabricated. Right then, the courtroom door opened. Elise Mercer walked in, haggard, a large envelope in hand. She stepped to the witness stand, voice trembling but steady. I am Sloan Mercer's mother. I will testify that everything Mr. Patel said is true. My daughter lied about being pregnant, spent excessively, and deceived both our family and the Cole family. The judge adjusted her glasses and read her interim ruling. The court rejects the entirety of Miss Sloan Mercer's damages claim. The court also notes evidence of potential credit fraud and will refer the matter to law enforcement for investigation. I exhaled, not triumphant, just feeling a long emptiness lift. A week later, Andrew finished paying off everything he owed me 6 months ahead of schedule. He didn't say much, just sent the money until the last note popped up. Month 18 complete. Thank you, Mom. I read it and smiled. I went back inside and ran my hand over the tabletop. This place had been the eye of the storm of lies. Now only the warmth of truth remained, bitter but true. I knew the real fight wasn't just in the courtroom. It was inside Andrew. He had finally decided to stand up. I watched until his taillights disappeared. Inside my chest, a wound tore a little wider. But strangely, I felt lighter, as if this pain was necessary to rinse away years of self-deception. Justice isn't revenge. It's the moment you can breathe without choking, look back at losses without your hands shaking. This is the silence of survival. 6 months passed since the court ruling and the house grew peaceful again. Andrew finished paying off everything he owed me, 6 months ahead of schedule. When the final payment hit, he didn't call. He just sent a small note. Month 18, complete. Thank you, Mom. Now I knew that action was the only sincere apology. The long year of loss and healing was finally giving way to spring. Portland smelled of damp earth and wild flowers. My house, the one that once echoed with fights, was now so quiet I could hear the wind threading the pines. This time the silence wasn't heavy. It was the hush of renewal. Andrew called one morning. His voice was lighter, clearer, without the old tremor of exhaustion. Mom, he said, the house paperwork. I transferred everything back in your name. No strings left. I just want to do what's right. This house has always been yours. I sat silent for a few seconds, listening to my own steady heartbeat. I saw a man learning to begin again. Maybe a mother's love isn't sheltering forever. Maybe it's stepping back so your child can stand. I began to refresh the house, not to forget, but to revive it. I hired the older craftsmen, the ones who painted for me back in the 90 seconds, to help scrape the old finish and roll on a soft cream color. My room, once the cold, dusty storage room, became itself again. I swapped harsh white bulbs for warm amber light. I hung the family photos that survived, including the 3 kids laughing by Mirror Lake in 2003. One afternoon, Hannah brought a big box. Inside was a brand new walnut rocking chair, glossy, with a pale floral seat. "You said you missed Grandpa's old chair," Hannah smiled. "I couldn't find it, so I got this. Maybe it'll become Grandma Vivian's chair in our memories." Saturday. It creaked softly, gentle and unbelievably soothing. I closed my eyes and almost heard my father's laugh. Lucas carefully restored my parents' wedding photo frame, the one shattered into pieces when Sloan stomped it. He picked up each shard, reassembled it, then sealed it with a protective coat. "Look, Mom," he said. "Sometimes what's been broken is more valuable because it's been held together with love." I stared at the photo. The fine cracks remained, but my parents' eyes shone as if they were smiling at me. That evening, Lucas set new brass nails and drove them firm into the porch post, where the sign hung Vivian's home. The final strike rang out clear and sure, like a declaration that this place at last belonged to its rightful owner again. Andrew started individual therapy. "They're helping me spot signs of manipulation. I can say no now, Mom," he told me one afternoon on our walk. "Now you have your own boundaries, and I'm learning to protect them," he said. I looked at my son, feeling love, pride, and a small ache, like watching someone stand up after a fall scarred, but looking forward. One Sunday afternoon, I invited Mrs. Whitaker for tea. The woman who called 911 and saved me that day still looked small, but her eyes were kind. "I owe you more than thanks," I replied. She set her hand on mine. Now. We just did what people should do. You living well, that's what makes me happy." We sat on the porch, 2 shaken lives now peacefully steady. I realized not only was the house cleaned, my life was being put back in order. No more shadows carrying lies. No more suspicious looks or weight in my chest walking through the door. I had cleared the toxins from my life, with the law, with patience, and with faith that honest people don't keep losing forever. That evening, I opened my laptop and wrote a piece for the community about financial abuse in families. Something few discuss, but many suffer silently. I told my story, no names, no rancor, just how a 5-year-old woman stood up properly within the law and kept her kindness. When I hit send, I felt lighter. Somewhere, someone might read it and find a little courage in those lines. Before bed, under a small lamp at my wooden desk, I rewrote my will. I divided things fairly, a portion for each child with clear conditions. I set aside a small fund for a center that helps victims of family fraud and financial coercion. And then, the most important part, I laid down my final message: whoever keeps respect and boundaries keeps their share. No one is allowed to manipulate, lie, or hijack love for money. It wasn't just a will. It was my last message to the people I love. I folded the paper and placed it in my mother's wooden box alongside her old wedding ring. I went back to my room, warm and golden. The window opened to the scent of pine and spring rain. The rocking chair creaked softly. I laid my hand on my parents' wedding photo, the lamp reflecting on their faces as if they were looking at me. In that moment, I knew justice, kindness, and respect are the 3 pillars of this roof. It took me almost a lifetime to learn how to guard them, but in the end I did. I stood before the old flower bed, the one once smeared with mud and tears, watering each lavender root with a gentle hand. The scent lifted into the damp air, soft as a blessing. I leaned down and whispered, "It's done." Not a victory cry, but a closing line. The final word on Sloan came in early spring. The court gave her a suspended sentence, along with a restraining order and restitution for other victims. I felt no glee, no bitterness, only a hollow quiet, like watching a storm drift off, leaving long streaks on the glass. I realized that dignity is not a gift to give away. Boundaries aren't coldness, they're love with thought. I closed my eyes. No more fear at the sound of a door. No more flinching at the wind. Everything was in place finally. And I knew the message was not just for me, but for anyone who's been hurt, called selfish for choosing themselves. If they call your strength selfish, smile, because you just saved yourself. Where in the world are you listening from? Leave a comment. I stood on the porch watching the Portland rain fall like threads. Drops beaded on the rail, glinting under the warm amber light. I breathed in, feeling the quiet heat rise through my skin. Every wound, every storm had become part of a survival story. And the truth I learned was not just about money or ownership. It was this: dignity is not a gift to give away. Boundaries aren't coldness, they are love with thought. Anyone who crosses your line without asking doesn't truly love you. For anyone who's been hurt, for anyone who's been called selfish for choosing themselves, remember this: a final piece of wisdom that I wish someone had told me sooner. If they call your strength selfish, smile, because you just saved yourself. I'm curious, after listening to my long journey, where in the world are you listening from? Have you ever felt that struggle, having to fight for your dignity under your own roof? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts on boundaries, on self-respect, or simply on what helped you stand up after days when you thought you had nothing left. If my story touched your heart and you want to hear more tales of courage and truth, please hit the like button and subscribe to Auntie Tales. That's AUNTIETALES for our next true story. And if you truly loved this story and want to support our channel, please leave the number 1 inch, the comments.